Hi, hey, hello. How's it going? It's Emily, and today we're going to start our vlogs for the month of April. Hopefully there will be multiple. And so we're going to get started. It is later than I intended to start this vlog. We'll get into that. I have read 1.5 books. We'll talk about those in just a second. It's currently Sunday, April 6th. And again, yeah, checking in later than I wanted to. I was commuting all week, and again, it's just hard to check in when I'm doing that. But I am hoping that I can also check in tomorrow. I actually have the day off of work tomorrow for a couple of doctor's appointments, and I also need to renew my driver's license. So we're doing all of the adulting tomorrow, and I'm hoping that I can finish the book that I'm currently on and also actually start The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. I think that one's next on deck. So hopefully I'll have a chance to do that and check in tomorrow while I'm off work, and then, maybe finish this one while commuting and start another one and then be able to check in again. We'll see, whatever. Anyway, so as far as the books are concerned, so I started April with Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Moss and had a really, really fun time with this one. So this one's following Alexis, and you're in the first few chapters, gonna have a few chapters of showing her growing up. She had a really bad foster home situation. Her foster parents ended up taking on another foster child, Charlie, so she has, this foster brother, Charlie, and she's trying to protect him as much as she can from her foster parents. They end up homeless through circumstances, so she's essentially trying to survive being homeless and going to high school. Her ultimate goal is to take this test that everyone takes when they're 19? And so she's basically just kind of in the school system to be able to take this test, and is essentially just studying for this test because she really wants to do well so that she can get into kind of an elite college school, to be able to set up herself and her brother for a better life in the future. And part of what they need to do while taking this test, or at the end of this test, is give a drop of their blood. And anyway, for reasons. And what they find out when she gives a drop of her blood is that she might have lineage from one of the gods, or blood from one of the gods, and be part of that lineage. And people sometimes fake this, and so at first they need to make sure that it's real and that her blood actually has this lineage. And then when they find out that she wasn't faking it, that she just gave a drop of her blood, she's sent off to this Spartan academy and has to survive this academy. She's basically just kind of forced into this and needs to survive. She's given, she needs to survive an initial bloody scene, and then if she can survive that, go through schooling, and they're professors in classes, but they're also forced not to really sleep much, eat much, and just study for long periods of time, be in classes for long periods of time. Very physically demanding because there are physical punishments as far as having to run long distances and swim long distances. Anyway, it's very brutal. And so she's just trying to survive. And, for those who survive, she also has mentors. So they're the professors. She has a couple of mentors. And it's just really not a great situation. And for those who survive, they are essentially given immortality and are considered Spartan. So she's basically just kind of going through the motions and going through this whole process, but super entertaining. And I don't know, there was just something about the writing that was just pretty captivating, and just seeing her go through these classes, go through this academy, interact with a bunch of people who don't like her. And she is trying to, so some weird things are going on with the people around her. And so, she's not really sure what the larger picture is of what's going on with like some of these weird happenings. And so there's some mystery elements here about why these things are happening, who she is and how she fits in. Does she have any magical abilities? What is that like? So she also has a companion snake that she can talk to that is invisible, which is kind of fun. So I don't know, I just had a good time. There were some things about, I said it, I did enjoy the writing. There were some things about the writing that kind of annoyed me as well, though. There were quite a few things that were super repetitive about the writing, as far as some of the jokes being super repetitive, or, for example, her constantly reflecting on whether or not something was relatable. Just little quirks in the writing that were extremely repetitive that, weren't my favorite, but still overall just a fun, easy to get into writing style. And there was something else a little weird about a situation too, because when she's brought to the Spartan Academy, she's taken away from her brother. And I thought there would be a lot more of a plot line with her trying to get in touch with her brother, make sure her brother was okay, go find her brother. And it just seemed odd to me that she is so protective of her brother, and yet, and I know there's a lot going on while she's at this academy, but it just seemed weird to me that there wasn't some sort of plot line about that throughout the book. Anyway, but I did have a really fun time with this one. Very much looking forward to the next one. So I'm now halfway through House of Marian by J.L., and also having a lot of fun with this one. So in this one, we're following Quell, and she and her mother are on the run. Quell has this kind of dangerous type of magic, and she knows it's dangerous, but her mom isn't really telling her a lot of information about this magical world that she comes from, what this dark magic is, why they need to be on the run so frequently. She's telling her some stuff and she knows enough, but she's wanting more information from her mother. And towards the beginning, these dangerous people, so there are a group of people who hunt down people with her type of magic. And so that's part of why they're on the run constantly, is because they need to be on the move so that these people can't find them. And so there's a situation where they come really close to being caught, and Quell needs to escape, and her mother had told her, if this happens, then this is what you need to do, and you need to go to the House of Marian and go find your grandmother, basically. And so that's what she does. And her grandmother runs this school. So the House of Marian is a school, and they teach about magic, they teach about etiquette. You kind of have a season and where you go through these different classes and you learn kind of old cotillion style, like you learn dances, you learn etiquette, you learn various types of magic. You go through this process to find which type of magic you have an affinity to, and then build that affinity and kind of bind yourself to that magic. And so, she is on the run and needs the protection of her grandmother in this school, but she also can't really admit to her grandmother that she has this darker type of magic. She needs to essentially just try to figure out if she also has this other type of magic that is more commonly used, that's not seen as a dark type of magic. She needs to see if she has that as well, to be able to hone that and kind of bind to that type of magic, so that she maybe can kind of push down this darker type of magic and not have it come to the surface. And so she's kind of going through the process of going through classes, learning about magic, trying her best to go through the process that the school puts her through, while being with her grandmother, trying to make friends and trying to figure out what's going on, try to keep herself safe from exposing that she has this type of magic. And it's just been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying our main character. I'm enjoying this school setting. I'm enjoying the classes and, you know, kind of the old style season. And it seems to be set in present day. So it's not set historically or anything. It just harkens back to those kinds of lessons and things that they're learning. And so it's just been fun. It's just been fun to go through this with Quell, see her at this school, see her trying to learn magic and worry about things that other students maybe aren't needing to worry about. She's needing to hide certain things about herself as she's going through this process to make sure that she gets through and survives. So I'm just very intrigued. I'm intrigued, and we'll see how this one continues to go. I'm a bit over halfway, so looking forward to hopefully finishing this one between today and early tomorrow maybe, and then starting on the parent, and hopefully I can give at least initial first impressions of this one tomorrow, but we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna get some more things done and continue reading House of Marion. So it is the next day. I have in fact finished House of Marion, finished that early this morning, and really enjoyed this one. And yeah, I love Cal. Also, I think I was pronouncing it Quell in the first clip. It's spelled Kuell, and when I was looking at several books to do several different clips and just making sure that I had character names correctly, I was kind of going based on how it was spelled to try to remind myself, but I was blanking that the narrator actually pronounces it Kel, and it's pronounced Kel, short for Raquel, which you don't actually find out until later on in the book that her full name is Raquel. Anyway, but it's Kel. And, you know, I had so much fun, you know, attending this school with Kel, learning about society. Of course, she finds out that things in this glittering world aren't all that they seem to be as she's going through the process of trying to hone and bind her magic. And so she gets caught up in that, and there's more to find out. I'm excited where the second book is going to go, so very excited to continue the series. I think this is going to be a trilogy. I think the second one is out now, and I think there's a third one that's going to get published later this year, but I need to double check if that's the last one or if it's a longer planned series. But I had so much fun with this one. So much fun. I just love the world, love the characters, loved her just figuring some things out, and anyway, very excited to continue. I then was reading The Pairing by Casey McQuiston as I was going around today. So I had dental cleaning, went to renew my driver's license, I had my annual well checkup, or my PCP check-in, and so while I was going to my primary care doctor for that well checkup, of course my check engine light comes on. So as I was coming back from that, I dropped my car off at a shop and was waiting around for them to be able to take a look at what might be wrong and why the check engine light was coming on. So during all of that, I was reading The Pairing. So there was a lot of drive time, there's a lot of waiting around in offices today. So I've read more than half of this. I'm on page 239, and it's just over 400 pages. So I'm a bit over halfway through, and absolutely loving this one. So in this one, we're following Theo and Kit, and it's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever read a novel structured this way. Normally you do actually get both of their perspectives, but instead of going back and forth, which is what I've mostly seen, the first half of the book is from Theo's perspective and the second half of the book is from Kit's perspective. So they used to date, and we're going to go on this food tour of Europe that sounds incredible, honestly. I'm going to go on a food tour of Europe now. And they're going to go on this tour of Europe. They ended up breaking up on the plane ride there. And, you know, circumstances, whatever. They haven't talked to each other in 4 years. They couldn't get a refund for this trip, but they could get a voucher to do the trip at a later time. So they both decided to, you know, have the voucher and take the trip at a later time. Of course, they both waited until the last possible minute when the voucher was about to expire to do the last, you know, possible food tour that they could still claim with this voucher. And so they're both on this food tour going around Europe. But of course, everyone else on this food tour are, you know, there's pairs of people who have gone on this food tour. And so they're the only people who have been traveling by themselves to go on this food tour. And so they keep getting paired up with everything that is paired activities because there's no one else to pair with. And so, you know, they've kind of been thrust together in, you know, these sets of experiences going around Europe. She's a sommelier at a restaurant in Palm Springs. He is a pastry chef at a place in Paris, and ended up moving to Paris after they broke up. Anyway, so they're both in the food drink industry, and I have absolutely, well, one, I love these two characters. I think they're both very different characters, but you see why they work so well together. And of course, they still have feelings for each other, but need to rekindle that, rediscover that on this food and wine tour. But I love these characters so much, and I love them together. I love their dynamic. I love just how well they know each other and not complete each other, but like how well they know each other, how well they fit together, I think is the better way of putting that, in so many different ways. And they have known each other for a long time and can really just speak a language that only the other person understands. And anyway, it's a lot of fun. And of course, I'm loving the aspect of them going around to these different places in Europe. And, you know, the food, the drinks, there is such luscious descriptions of everything that they're seeing and eating and tasting, and it's great. It's really making me want to go on a food tour of Europe so badly. Anyway, and so as they're on this tour, because of course, clearly they're trying to tell the other person that they're over each other, they decide to see who can hook up with the most people throughout this tour. And so they're going to different places, you know, meeting different people, having different experiences, including sexual experiences, and, you know, talking to each other about them, which is just so funny. Of course, I wouldn't necessarily want anyone to do this in real life and like use people this way, because they really are using these people to make the other person jealous and make the other person realize that maybe there's still something there. You know what I mean? I will be clear, everything is consensual in here. Like, they're not coercing anyone, they're not manipulating. Like, it is just them genuinely connecting with people, and everything is consensual. But, you know, would I want someone to actually use people like this? Of course not. But can I set it aside in a fictional world? Yes, I can. And, you know, it's just been really funny, really entertaining, and I've been loving traveling around Europe through this book. And yeah, and it feels very different. So I haven't read I Kissed Shara Wheeler, but I have read Red, White, and Royal Blue, as well as One Last Stop by this same author. And each of these books have felt very different, which I think is kind of cool to know that, you know, there can be these very different feeling books, but I still have enjoyed each one for very different reasons. Anyway, I'm having a grand time with this one as well. And yeah, I just kind of blasted through the first half of it today while literally spending the whole day going around to various appointments or adulting in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, I literally just got back at 5 o'clock from the car shop, and my dental appointment was today. So it literally has been, I mean, I took today off of work because I knew I had multiple things to do. Wasn't anticipating the car situation, but I knew I had multiple appointments, so I just took the day to be able to do those things. So glad I was able to do that, and that I was able to, that the shop had time to look at my car and at least tell me what was wrong. So I need to figure out how I'm going to get my car back to the shop at some point soon while commuting. So we'll figure that out. But I at least know what's wrong with my car, and it's not anything major. So that's also exciting. Anyway, but yeah, I will be finishing this. Not quite sure what's next, but we'll see if I can check in the next few days. Hopefully I'll be able to give a wrap up on the pairing and be able to hopefully at least check in while I'm reading the next book, but we'll see what happens. So, checking in, I have now finished The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. So I did finish it, I think, the next day while commuting. Absolutely loved this. I was really feeling their chemistry. As I said, was really loving going around Europe and just experiencing Europe through their eyes, through the food and drinks and their experiences, and it was just so much fun. I had a ton of fun with this one. So yeah, absolutely loved. I then did start and finish Tale of the Heart Queen by Nisha Tully. As I said, there were many days of commuting, and it's a long commute, so you know, it's a chunker, but I still finished it, and also enjoyed this one. This is the finale in the Artifacts of Uranus series. I think that's what it's called, and I've had a lot of fun with this whole series. I definitely had fun with this one. Definitely wanted answers after the end of what happened in the third one, so we pick up right where we leave off, and you know, I won't say too much because it's the fourth book in a series and whatever. Anyway, but picking up where we left off after the third, our Lore needs to go on a quest to get something in order to accomplish what she wants to accomplish. And so, you know, she's doing that. And let's see, you know, I'm trying to not say too much. Anyway, there are various tasks that they need to complete, and you know, she needs to kind of outwit, or the group collectively needs to kind of outwit different characters in order to accomplish what they need to accomplish, and characters have some realizations about what they want in the new world that they're trying to create, and you know, various twists and turns. I don't know, I had fun with this last one, and would definitely recommend this series if you're looking for a fun romantasy series. It's pretty slow burn, and I don't know, lots of fun magic and politics and character interactions. I had a lot of fun with it. So I'm currently reading, I've since started A Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine, and this is the follow-up to a memory called Empire, and it has been so fun to be back in this world. We definitely leave off at an intense moment, and so our characters are in various places trying to deal with the ramifications of what's going on, and Mahit needs some answers, so she is trying to get some different answers and trying to figure out, basically trying to figure out who she can trust, what she needs to do next, and how to play her hand with the political situation going on. Again, since it's the second in a series, I don't want to say too much. I think it must have been in my TBR video that I mentioned in general what the first book was about. So Mahit, our main character, is the ambassador from her home station called Lascelles. She's the ambassador to the Empire, Tix Kalan, and so she has, in the first book, traveled to the main planet and found out that her predecessor, she was kind of called in to do this very quickly. Turns out her predecessor died under mysterious circumstances, and so she needs to figure out what's going on and make sure that she's not in danger of enduring the same fate. And so, yeah, I think that book takes place over the course of a week as she's trying to figure out what's going on. Super fun. And yeah, as I said, this one leaves off right after, or like a very short amount of time after we leave off from the first book. And so, you know, various machinations are at play, and she needs to figure out how she can best serve her station, but also, you know, keep herself safe and try to figure out what's going on in the rest of the Empire, and as I said, who she can trust. So I'm enjoying being back in this one. I think I'm 40% of the way in at this point, 39% of the way through at this point. So yeah, definitely enjoying that. I also finally watched, I actually need to go back. I think I still need to watch Amy's announcement video for it, but I have joined Amy and Kem's game. They and their moms are kind of both playing this TBR game that is so cool, and they're actually bringing in the community as well to play the game with them and be on their teams. And they have live shows every month now where they kind of play the game and you can join live and contribute to the gameplay for your team. It's super cool. I'll link both of their announcement videos below. Please do check it out. It's so much fun. You can still join if you are so inclined. I think it's super fun. But they had the live show while I was in Sweden, so I couldn't join the live show like for their first live show. And, you know, intended when I got back that I would, you know, watch it and be able to help determine what my books would be based on the prompts. So I'll be sure to do this in my May video. Like, hopefully I'll be able to watch, or TBR video, hopefully I'll be able to watch the live show this time when they do it in April, and then incorporate that into my May TBR. So, but I did finally this morning go back and watch the live show so that I could get the prompts for my team, the Centaurs, which is Amy and her mom's team. And yeah, so let me double check. Oh, actually, I'm on the wrong page here. Okay. So, and I actually fortunately think that this is going to turn out pretty well. So the first prompt, oh, actually, let me grab the book real quick. So the first prompt that we got was a green book with a light source on the cover. This is going to be my next read. It's kind of hard to tell. Okay, so I'm counting like all of this area, like this area, her shirt. Like there's quite a bit. I know it's kind of blue tinted and it's coming across a little brighter on camera. But anyway, I'm considering a good bit of this green on the cover, and there's like a lot of this, like you can kind of see the threads of magic that are going around, and those threads of magic seem to kind of be their own light source on the cover and have a lot of illumination in the background with this magic. So I'm counting this as a green book with a light source on the cover. Hopefully that doesn't feel too much like cheating or too much of a stretch. I think it counts. So this is going to be the book that I use for that one. It is currently April 13th and we have until the 25th. And this is going to be my next read, so I'm not at all worried about fitting that in on time. The next one is to read a book that fulfills a bookish challenge. So mine was to complete series. So this one definitely counts for completing a series, so we love that. The next one was, let's see, a free pick. I think I'll just go ahead and do House of Marion for free pick. Next one is highly rated, and I think I can go with, I need to double check some other ratings, but I think I can go with a Desolation Called Peace for this one. This one does have a very high rating. I actually put it in my TBR video. So it actually does have a really high rating, and it was the reason I picked it for that prompt was because the prompt was to read a book with a 4+ star rating. And so that one had a really good rating. So I haven't compared it to everything that's on my TBR, and I don't have everything logged on Goodreads. So I think I can just count that because I know it definitely has a very high rating, and that'll be fine. So the next one is something that has a trope you dislike. So I'll put the pairing for this one because second chance romance doesn't always work for me. So again, these two had dated and need to, like, are brought back together, forced proximity on this trip around Europe. Second chance ones don't always work for me because it's really, really hard. Not only does the author need to build up and kind of get us on board with the way the relationship originally was and like why they fell in love in the first place. So the author needs to build that up. Sometimes that comes in the form of flashbacks. That wasn't the case. And I mean, they're remembering different stuff along the way. And that's kind of how Casey did it in this one was, you know, both characters remembering things and the trip reminding them of certain things about why they loved the other person and reminds them of things that they went through in the past. But there's not necessarily like an older timeline that really builds up and shows us why they fell in love in the first place. So that can be hard. It was very successfully, at least for me, very successfully pulled off in this one. It can also sometimes, you know, especially as they're trying to work things out, you can also see the reason why they broke up as well for second chance romances, right? Like there was a reason that it ended. So depending on what the reason is and how they work through that, sometimes that can, again, be very successful, as I thought it was successfully done in this one. But it doesn't always work for me, and sometimes I think can be a real challenge to try to make a second chance romance work and have us still root for the main characters. So I'll count this one as a trope that I don't always get along with. Again, I love that book, so it's not that it can't work for me, but the final prompt and the hardest one, but one that by very lucky chance will actually work for me this time, is a book featuring sign language. So I can think of only very, very few books that I've read that have sign language in them, but by chance, one of the ones I read this month does have sign language on it. So Blood of Hercules, her foster brother Charlie, when they first meet, he can hear, but he's nonverbal, and so but is comfortable communicating by sign language, and so they actually learn and communicate by sign language. It is a small part of the book whenever she's interacting with her brother, and isn't around her brother for most of the book, but it is still there, right? It is still present. So they talk in sign language. There is sign language representation in this one. So somehow the hardest prompt is one that I actually had already accomplished. I really just need to read one book by the 25th, and I'll be able to submit all of the prompts or fulfill all of the prompts for my team, which is really exciting. I need to make sure to remember to actually submit it on time, but I should be able to fulfill all the prompts, which is really cool. And yeah, I'm not worried about being able to read this by the 25th. I might have a lot of reading time coming up. Who knows? I might not have a job very soon. There are huge cuts coming to the federal government workforce in the US, and I don't know. We haven't really been told anything concrete. No one's saying anything. There's some stuff that's been leaked, but we really don't know anything. But some things that we have heard are leading us to believe that potentially this week, maybe even as soon as tomorrow, Monday, the 14th, the cuts might be coming to EPA, and we might be getting the notices that our positions have been cut. So I think I'll be caught up in whenever those cuts come to EPA. I think I'll be caught up in that. I'm not a permanent employee, so I think my position will be one of the first ones on the chopping block. So I might have a lot of reading time coming up. We'll see. My next update might be, hey guys, I lost my job. So yeah, just mentally preparing for that. So fun times, fun times. But yeah, we'll see. Again, no one knows anything concrete. So it's really nerve-wracking, and honestly, the wait has been excruciating. Part of me is just like, if I'm gonna get cut, like, let's just get this over with, and like, that way we at least know what we're dealing with, and I don't know, whatever. Anyway, but that aside, I still should be able to read this by the 25th, even if I still have my job. So, but yeah, this will be the next one on deck after I finish a memory, or not a memory called Empire, but a desolation called Peace. So yeah, I'm going to get some things done and continue listening. Yeah, and hopefully my next check-in won't be that I've lost my job, but we'll see. So here to wrap up this vlog, I have finished A Desolation Called Peace by Arcady Martine, and really, really love this one. This one is just so much fun, such a fun duology, lots of twists and turns, and Mahit trying to figure out what her next move should be, where she's best positioned, what the right thing to do is, who she can trust, and what to do with all these players that are moving themselves on this chessboard of politics, and dealing with different creatures and different people, and just trying to figure out what's going on. Super fun. I have also read Hearts That Cut by Kika Hatzopoulou, and this is such a unique feeling duology. So it deals with the gods, like Greek gods, but very different feeling. So our main character is one of 3 siblings, and they can each do different things with the threads that connect people. So the first book is Threads That Bind, and they can each do different things with the threads that connect people or things, and our main character can cut them. So at the beginning of the story, she basically uses this ability and sells this ability to do things for people. So say someone wants to forget about someone that they can't stop thinking about, she can cut that thread, their connection to that person. For example, so she can sell her ability and is trying to make money and survive that way. And she is on a job and realizes that there are some weird things going on with the threads of certain people. Certain people are kind of turning into these zombie-like characters with different threads cut, and she's trying to figure out, at least I think some of their threads are cut. Anyway, they're basically turning into this zombie-like creature, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, and they're starting to wreak havoc, basically. And so she's trying to figure out why this is happening, what's going on. There's a prophecy involved that she may be important in, and so in the first one, we're kind of introduced to that prophecy. They're starting their investigation into what's going on, figuring out some things. There are a few twists and turns, and in this one, they're continuing their investigation, gathering more information, coming to realize what might be going on and figure out how they can stop what's happening. I don't want to talk too much about the prophecy or anything like that, and don't want to spoil anything, but it is just a very unique feeling series that I've had a lot of fun with. So we're gonna end that one, or this vlog, here, and it is currently Thursday the 17th. It's currently my birthday, so I've taken off of work. We're actually going to go on a little trip this weekend, just a weekend away, and so I will start that in a new vlog, and we'll kind of go over in that vlog, film the trip, go over what books I pick up. There's also going to be at least one like special bookish excursion that's going to be going on this weekend. So I will film that. So look forward to that. Subscribe for more bookish content and to see what I get up to this weekend. And I'll be sure to leave my Instagram link down below, as well as more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement. And thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.